Tonight, chaos in Little Village, day 2. Tear gas and unrest after another high-profile federal immigration raid. We have the latest. Plus, an Oak Park attorney recounts his story of being arrested after following federal agents in his car. And family tragedy. Republican gubernatorial candidate Darren Bailey faces the devastating loss of his son, daughter-in-law, and 2 grandchildren after a helicopter crash in Montana.
Welcome to the Chicago Report. I'm Paris Schutz. Well, another day, another high-profile raid in Little Village, the heart of Chicago's Mexican-American community.
This past month, my colleagues and I have had weapons pointed at us from vehicles resembling tanks, things I've never seen in this city before. We've been tear gassed without any warning. And it hurts, and it's scary. But I'm here today because we are undeterred. We're undeterred because we have a responsibility. Our rapid response network is a collection of attorneys from diverse backgrounds and practice areas because, folks, this is not just an immigration issue. This is a civil rights issue.
Residents and public officials and advocates on edge there, as you can see. And joining us now is our own Joni Lum, who has been following the events in Little Village throughout the day. Joni, what can you tell us about the latest on today's activity that featured more tear gassing?
Paris, a second day of terror, pain, and suffering, according to the residents of Little Village. It started this morning when a security guard here at the Little Village Discount Mall saw a convoy of federal vehicles approaching on 27th Street, the entrance there. He stopped them and asked them for a warrant, and after that, tear gas canisters were deployed. We have video from a rapid responder. Witnesses say that the agents put the guard on the ground. They allegedly hit a teenager and took a Juarez Community Academy student into custody for several hours. The kids were out here protesting. A crowd gathered and they started shouting at the agents. Now, they were able to keep the agents from getting any farther into the discount mall, but the deployment of tear gas was unexpected, especially since agents are not supposed to use those tactics according to the federal court mandate. At Juarez this morning, students were sharing pictures of their friend being taken by federal agents. The school community very upset and worried. He did end up being released about 3 hours later, and he went back to school. He was seen being hugged by friends. Teachers joined 25th Ward Alderman Byron Sigto Lopez for a news conference after school, and CPS officials emphasized that the school building is the safest place for students. The arrest happened here at the mall. Now, at the mall, alderpersons from all over Chicago, state representatives, activists, and social service agencies, they were here for a news conference to call attention to the conduct of these federal agents. They also say that they're going to keep training rapid response teams. They're going to be handing them some gas masks. One agency purchased 200 gas masks for those rapid response teams. And also the office of 22nd Ward Alderman Michael Rodriguez, his office has been turned into an immigrant triage center where people can find help, legal help, and information about loved ones who have been taken. Reporting live in Little Village, I'm Joni Lum. Back to you, Paris.
Thank you so much for that update. We appreciate it. Take a look at this video here. Speaking of tear gas, this is video from Yanni Sotelo on Facebook that shows some of that incident in Little Village. Check out who is throwing a tear gas canister. That is none other than Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bavino, who's been sort of the front man. There he is right there in slow motion. The front man of all of these CBP activities here. And that would appear to possibly violate the federal judge's court ruling that said that tear gas cannot be deployed except for in very restricted circumstances. And also a new wrinkle in the case today, Governor Pritzker announcing a new commission to document unlawful immigration actions from federal agents. Take a look.
The new commission will be staffed by Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, Jim Bennett, Director of the Illinois Department of Human Rights, and Mary Meg McCarthy of the National Immigrant Justice Center, among others.
With today's executive order, Governor Pritzker is once again standing for the very principles that make this a great country. The executive order will protect the rule of law. I believe that the Commission will become an invaluable resource in America's quest for justice and durable human rights protections.
Pritzker says the idea is to keep an accessible database of federal actions so those affected can potentially have documentation for future legal action.
If they do not follow the law, they will be held accountable, and there will be archives and records of what happened here.
It follows another effort spearheaded by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot called the ICE Accountability Project. Lightfoot announced the effort exclusively with Fox 32 Chicago and says part of the goal will be to unmask federal agents who she says have concealed their identities.
We have a right to know who's doing what.
But Customs and Border Protection Commander Gregory Bovino, who has been out front as the face of Operation Midway Blitz, says it's policies by Pritzker and others that are hampering and endangering federal agents.
And I watched our agents. They operate with extreme professionalism. They do everything right. I've not seen one instance of something that was out of control or wrong. We're well used to this on the border. Remember, a lot of this very same thing takes place on the border, and it has for decades now. So we're well versed in it, and I think that we're on good, solid legal footing.
And just today on the on-again, off-again flirtation with the National Guard, President Trump is teasing plans to send troops into Chicago. Despite the court ruling that puts the TRO in place right now, he is citing violence and murder as the main reason he feels the cities need military help.
Chicago, I just saw the number. Last week, it was last weekend, 4 were murdered, 11 were shot. And then I have this guy Pritzker is a very weak governor. Let me be nice. I'm going to be very nice. He's extremely weak. He's pathetic. I have Pritzker get up and say how great they're doing in Chicago. They're doing very poorly. So 4 were murdered, 11 were shot. I would say, and that was not a bad week for him. Okay, that was not a bad week. He's had somewhere 18 or 19 were murdered. And you know what his excuse was? Yeah, but that was a long weekend. Okay, can you believe it? He said that was a long weekend. He's bad. And the mayor is worse. I mean, that mayor is worse. Low IQ, very low IQ. So we're going to be given a very special, we're going to give Chicago very special care.
An Oak Park-based attorney was arrested and detained by federal agents after they say he was disrupting their actions by following them with his car. And we are joined now by attorney Scott Sakiyama now to recount his experience. Scott, thanks for speaking with us. As I understand, you were driving and following agents from the Broadview processing facility eastward. Tell us blow by blow what happened.
Sure. So I'm a part of a rapid response team, and earlier in the morning on Monday, I had responded to a call in the northwest suburbs relative to Oak Park. And then I had some friends after that was finished up that I knew were at the Broadview facility, and I went down to sort of just check in with them. And while I was getting ready to head home, there was an ICE car that pulled out of the facility. It got on 290 headed east, which is the way I was headed. And then so I was behind it, and it exited at Oak Park at Austin, which very close to home. And so I exited as well. And we came to a stop sign, and several people jumped out. They were wearing like fatigues, and they were masked. They started to approach my vehicle. I backed up, and so they got back in the car and took off. And at that point, I started blowing a whistle and honking my horn to alert people to the presence of ICE. We did that for several blocks past one elementary school, came towards another elementary school, and then they stopped again, and another car, not an ICE car, just a random car, pulled in behind me, so I could not back up. They got out of their car, they drew their guns, they told me to open the car door or they would smash my window. Eventually, I didn't move at that point. I wanted to de-escalate the situation. They had their guns drawn. They eventually opened the door, took me out, handcuffed me, put me in the back of their van, and drove me to Broadview.
So, and I want to get to more of your interaction with them. So if you were at Broadview, we've been trying to document the conditions in there. Obviously, they haven't let anybody in. So what did you see while you were in there?
So they did not actually take me into the facility. We were parked outside for maybe 30 minutes, and then they issued me a citation claiming that I had cut them off, and then they drove me back to my car and told me to have a nice rest of my day.
Interesting. So they claim that you were cutting them off, that you were
Correct.
somehow impeding them, perhaps a danger to them while driving. Is that what happened?
That's a complete fabrication. I was behind them the entire time, just blowing the whistle and honking my horn.
And then, you also reportedly had talked about you had seen a group text chat on one of their phones. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we were in a minivan. It looked like a rental car, and one of them apparently had his phone synced to the display in the minivan. And he was repeatedly getting chats. It kept saying messages are coming in from the group chat, Chirac Team 2. And so they were getting multiple messages in that group chat.
Chirac, so that's allegedly how they titled their group chat. Tell me, what was your interaction like with the agents? Were they aggressive? Were they cordial?
So once they put their guns away and had handcuffed me, they were not aggressive at that point. Once I was in the van, clearly the guns and the pulling me out of the car is aggressive, especially right in front of a school there, my daughter's school. But no, once they were in the car, there wasn't very much interaction. I did provide my name, date of birth, and they asked me if I was a U.S. citizen, and I confirmed that. And then there was very, very little interaction after that. I did at one point ask if, when we were parked, if they could do something about the handcuffs because they were cutting off circulation in my hands. They were starting to go numb. And at that point, they moved them from behind my back to in front of my body. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of talking beyond that.
Do you feel like your civil rights were violated in this interaction? Obviously, they let you off with a citation, so they didn't formally detain you for a long period of time. But
Sure.
was this some sort of Fourth Amendment violation, possibly?
I think certainly, certainly some sort of violation, potentially, potentially a First Amendment violation as well. I guess if you can't blow your whistle, you can't honk your horn. I guess their position is that you can't do that. I don't think that's right. One of my friends said it was a little bit like telling Paul Revere that he couldn't tell anybody the British were coming.
Interesting analogy there. You have been following this. I know you've represented clients. In your experience, what have you witnessed in terms of how CBP and ICE have been conducting themselves in these raids? We had the commander, Bovino, again saying today he's not witnessed anyone do anything wrong.
I think there have been court proceedings where I've seen attorneys challenge the veracity of Mr. Bovino's statements, basically implying that he is not particularly wedded to the truth or facts. So I'm not surprised that he would say something like that. But no, I've been at Broadview. On October 3rd, they detained a number of people. Most of them they released immediately afterwards, and that was just a total stunt to grab people and create a propaganda video on their part. Several of the people that they tackled and arrested were doing nothing more than just standing there with their cell phones.
Certainly, in my experience too, being out there, you just wonder how much provocation has come from the federal agents and whether that's purposeful. Do you plan to continue monitoring this activity?
I do. I have been over the last few days, and I plan to continue. I'll probably be out at Broadview tomorrow.
All right. Attorney Scott Sakiyama, thank you so much for recounting your experience with us.
Thanks for having me.
And we're back after this with more on a family tragedy for a Republican candidate for governor. Stay with us.